Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be doing something I've never done before on the channel, and that is a scope review. Before we get too far into the video, I do want to let you know that this scope was not sent to me for review. I did pay for it. I got it right at the end of the 25% off sale that Arken was having. So I did get a good deal on it, but I paid exactly what everybody else would have paid at that time for it. You've probably seen a lot of reviews of Arken scopes popping up lately. They've been running some really good deals. From everything I've heard, they have some decent quality, and I'm really excited to give this scope a test. This is the Arken EPL-4, and this is the 4-16 by 44 first focal plane model. I have been looking for a decent priced scope for a few things, and I really need a couple of them right now. But the gun that was in most dire need of a new scope is my semi-custom Taxol 1022 built on a BRN 22 receiver. This is one that I put together. Realized afterwards I could have spent about the same amount of money and got a complete package put together by Taxol that would probably be a little bit smoother, but whatever, it was fun to build. I do have a video on that, on the build process back, a year or two now. Don't think I ever did an update on it, but I did send this gun into Taxol because I was having some accuracy issues. I was only getting like an inch group best at 25 yards. They checked it over and they ended up replacing the barrel sleeve inside this SBX barrel, and now it's shooting amazingly. But one thing even they commented on was the scope I had on it was hot garbage. And it was, I think it was an Athlon Neos. And guys, I have pretty much decided I am not buying bargain basement scopes again. There are some good scopes that are also affordable. I'm really hoping this is going to be one. My first impressions of this scope are pretty positive. The turrets have positive clicks. I can actually get the 0 to line up with the 0 line, which is always nice. The magnification range on this scope is exactly what I want for a kind of do-all target and hunting scope. The magnification range is 4 to 16 power. I really don't ever need more than that. The furthest range I can shoot is about 700 yards. 16 power is plenty to shoot at 700 yards. Chances are I'm going to put this scope on another rifle in the future and take it out to distance. It'll probably go on the Howa Mini in 6.5 Grendel, but the 1022 is what we're testing it on for now. No, we won't be able to test any kind of recoil resistance, although they do claim that it is 50 BMG rated. It says right on the side of the box. In the box, it comes with a battery for the illuminated reticle. It comes with a sunshade that I haven't put on there yet. A manual that's actually written in pretty plain language, and that's kind of nice. They've got the standard cleaning cloth in a little paper sleeve here, and an Allen key to set the 0 stop and to 0 the turrets, and a couple of Arken Optics stickers in different sizes. I have mounted this scope in Arken rings. I wanted to try them out as well. These are the 0.97 inch low rings. They are about the lowest I would want to go on this 1022, but they're going to be just about perfect on pretty much everything else I put them on. These rings are about $65. They seem to be really high quality. The only slight gripe I have with them, and it's super slight, is that the finish on the rings is a little bit glossier than the finish on the scope. Now they might have shinier finishes on scopes that these rings go very well with. I'm not sure. Anyway, that's not a huge deal. They've got torque specs listed right on the rings, 18 inch-pounds on here, and they've got 30 inch-pounds listed. Yes, it's written right under here. I'm not going to be able to show it to you. But 30 inch-pounds listed for the cross bolts. I like that they list that right on there. That's really nice. They seem to be machined really well. They've got kind of a cool rounded off look, but they seem to be built really beefy, and I'm hoping that they're going to hold up when we put this scope on larger rifles. Hoping that they will not let the scope shift around when we beat this up just a little bit later. So with that out of the way, we're gonna get a 0 here with the 1022 at 50 yards, and then we'll jump into some mild torture testing. I'm gonna set this Allen key out because I will be setting the 0 stop and zeroing the turrets before long here. I do have one dot on a pretty large piece of clean cardboard down there at 50 yards, so we'll be able to get this thing zeroed. It does come with a pretty nice rubber bikini style cover here. I kind of like this style a little bit better than the plastic caps that are always a little bit noisy. This slips on and off pretty quietly, and they're a pretty good snug fit on there. I'm gonna set my Parallax at about 50 yards there on the side turret, and I'm gonna check to see, and we'll go ahead and crank this up to 16 power. I'm gonna get this settled in the rest, and my first check is gonna be to see how precise that Parallax setting is. Now my target's down there at 55-ish yards, so the 50 setting's not gonna be dead on. But I'm gonna try to get the Parallax adjusted out the best I can. This does have adjustments from infinity all the way down to 10 yards. For 22s, air guns, especially, you want to be able to go down to 10 yards. And if it's truly accurate down that close, and the focus is good, which I'll test here in a little bit, that's gonna be really nice for squirrel hunting, which is this gun's main job. Okay, I've got just a little bit of movement there. Okay, yeah, just a tiny bit past the 50, and the Parallax is all ironed out. I've got no movement, target versus reticle there. The whole purpose of this gun is to be quiet, right? It's got like a 12.5-inch barrel with a permanently attached shroud and then a suppressor down inside. This is a Thunder Beast 22 takedown suppressor, rated from 22 LR all the way up to 5.7, I believe. Really like this suppressor. But because of that, I typically shoot subsonic ammo through it. I've got a magazine of 10 rounds loaded up with CCI standard, and that's the subsonic ammo that I typically use. You might see a few little hiccups here in feeding and loading. None of that's going to be the fault of the scope. Of course, I haven't cleaned this in forever, and I always shoot it suppressed. So we're going to take a group here, or take a couple shots here at 55 yards and see if we can get this thing zeroed. The image down there at 50 yards is very, very crisp and clear. There is a tiny bit of chromatic aberration. I can see like a little, some purple and pink hues at the edges of things. Not huge. It's not going to throw you off. It's not going to affect shooting any. Okay, I'm going to take one more shot. All right, I see stuff splashing up all the way down at the bottom of the target, like 32 MOA down. I don't think I mentioned the scope is in MOA. I'm going to go ahead and adjust up 32 MOA. That is one problem that I've had with this receiver before, is some scopes won't even zero on this because it is so far off. Each revolution is 20 MOA, so that's up 20. Let's go up 30 and see where we're at. All right, that we're actually pretty close on there. All right, and that shot was right on top of it. I am, looks like I am 2 MOA to the left. There's a capped windage turret, which I appreciate. I'm gonna come right to MOA. I'll show it to you here. When you take off that cap, there is a usable finger adjustable turret under it with knurling and everything, and a pretty easy to set zero stop here. From what I understand, you loosen this, spin that to 0, and tighten that back down. We'll be doing that in a second here. I like that a lot. I think that's a really good feature. to have it capped, but also very usable left uncapped. All right, let me take a shot to confirm here. All right, I went slightly too far. Let's come back 1 MOA to the left. Yeah, right on the orange dot. All right, let me take you down and show you that target. Okay, so what I thought was a 2 MOA mark on the scope was actually a 1 MOA. That's just fine. But you can see my first 2 shots were here and here. I moved 2 MOA and I shot there and there, corrected back 1 MOA this way, and I'm there and there. Okay, I'm going to zero these turrets, but I am not going to set the zero stop yet. We're gonna do that in just a few minutes. This is 50 yards. I wanna actually zero this gun at 25 yards, but I wanna have a known hold value for 50. So I'm gonna loosen this cap. There are 3 screws around the edge. One of them was very tight. All right, slight complaint here. The Allen key is undersized for the screws that are on here. Okay, I'm gonna spin that around to 0. I'll try to get it as evenly lined up on the 0 mark. All right, that's driving me a little bit crazy that Allen key is undersized for the screws. That should not be. Okay, there we are. We've got clicks again, set on 0. I'm gonna move the target into 25 yards and see where it's at. Oh, first, I want to fix this windage. I'm just gonna take a bit and take out this plug. Then this cap, I was wrong a little bit ago. You don't just twist this. This cap actually comes off. Then you'll line it up and push it back on. And then this cap just goes right back in. And I'll just hold this and tighten that cap just a little bit. That cap is just to keep the turret in place. It doesn't have anything to do with how the outer turret grips the inner turret. All right, so we got windage zeroed, we got elevation zeroed. Go ahead and cap that windage turret, and like I said, I'm gonna bring that target to 25 yards and we'll see where we're at. Target's now at 25 yards. I'll change my parallax. Okay, the focus is super nice and crisp when I've got that parallax set about 25. I'll do my head check again here. Hey, that is spot on. All right, I'm about an MOA and a half high here at 25 yards. Yeah, I think I'm gonna make my 25 yards. I can hold over that much when I'm shooting at 50. So let me reset this turret. All right, I'm curious to see. I know that I need to do something about this action to make it not have that 30 MOA come up. I'm a full revolution and a half above the mid-range of the scope. I'm curious to see how much I've got left. Yeah, I've only got about 9 MOA of elevation adjustment left because of how this internal setup is. I need to tune this a little bit more. So I know that. But the good thing is it's got enough travel that I can zero it, and I should be able to have adjustments at least out to 100 yards or so. I don't know 22 drop well enough to tell you how far that 9 MOA will get us, but that might be something we test out in the future. There's another 10 rounds loaded up. All right, double check the 0 here. little bit of a jam there. Like I said, I desperately need to clean this thing. That one went right through the center. Oh yeah. Got a good zero now at 25 yards. What I'm gonna do is set the zero stop. Well, let me check the manual again to make sure I'm doing it right. Okay, they don't say to loosen the set screw, which is right above the zero here, but it seems to be tight. So I'm gonna loosen that set screw. Okay, we still got good stuff there. It says to go rotate the turret up 2 clicks, click, click. Then gently turn the zero stop screw down until it bottoms out. Okay, and then back it off a 1/4 turn. Then gently tighten the set screw. Okay, let me see if that, okay, zero stop doesn't easily turn. Oh, that's nice. We got a firm zero stop right on the zero mark now. So it is important to follow those directions and come up 2 clicks. Nice. Okay, it might be like a 1/2 click past the zero is where it settles in, but it falls right back down on zero. Nice. Okay, I'm gonna come up an MOA and a half because the target's now at 50 yards. I'm gonna take 2 shots at 50 yards to confirm our point of impact, and then we're gonna knock this thing around a little bit and see if it holds zero. I'm gonna try out this illumination dial. I've got it on its brightest setting, and it's barely usable. It's barely bright enough to help me differentiate that black spot down there, and I'm in kind of a shaded yard. It's a bright day out, but I'm in kind of a shady area. It's fine in bright conditions. I can use the regular reticle, and the illuminated part will mostly be used for low light situations. We're gonna have to test that out. Anyway, I'm gonna try using it for now. Had a magazine bobble there. Said I need to clean this gun and clean the magazines. There we go. All right, let's go down and check that target. I see where the holes are, but I'll show you. Looks like I could maybe come back this way on the windage just a click or two, but anyway, you can see hole there and a hole there, about a 1/2 inch apart. Okay, now's the part that I'm not super excited about, because again, I bought this scope and I don't want to break it. Okay, we are unloaded. What I'm gonna do is set this gun on its side and just drop it over. Let's do it on both sides. Simulate kind of getting beat around the truck. All right, 2 more shots here at 50 yards. Illumination's still on. Image is still good and clear. All right, go check it out. All right, I've got a hole there and one there. I will say on this shot, I did not have the best bench shooting technique. So with that outside the other 3, I'm not blaming that entirely on the gun or the scope. All right, we are clear. I'm not going to like drag this thing behind a truck or anything. That's not what it's meant for. But I think one thing that is important to test is falling over from standing up. All right, I'm gonna double check to make sure the gun's clear. Put it against the tree, knock it over. It is falling into pretty soft leaves. Let's see here. Let's make it slightly more interesting. Here we go. My driveway is on this side, so the ground over there is a little harder. There's some rocks in here, so I'm not gonna drop it right in here because I don't wanna scrape the heck out of the gun, but the ground's pretty firm right here. Okay. I'm not gonna drop it out of a tree stand or anything. I think that's just gratuitous, but let's check and see if it held to 0 for that. And bunged good on the rest there. I'm just gonna go ahead and fire the rest of this magazine into the target there. That's all the torture testing we're doing. Guess I should stop expecting it to feed. Okay. I don't think I'm going to be able to get a camera on the scope quite good enough. I might try in a second. They're going right where they should. Let me see if I can get you a view through the scope here. All right, please don't think this is an accurate representation of the image quality of the scope. I am hand holding the camera and trying to get a bit of a picture through it here. Let me send a few shots into this label, and I want to see if you can see the bullets fly. All right, ignore, if you will, these 5 shots right here. That was a group with a different type of ammo I tried. My camera cut out, and I didn't realize it had stopped recording. Anyway, these are the shots that I shot into the center. No point of impact shift. Most of them went into this little group right there. As I was starting to say before the camera cut out, I could see every bullet flying right into the group through that scope because it's clear enough to do that. All right, I don't know if that last bit was helpful for you guys or not. I cannot get anywhere close to the quality of view with the camera through the scope as it looks like, but I can tell you, at least here at 55 yards, it's crystal clear. There are a lot of things I really like about this scope. Let's start from the top. The overall weight of it is not terrible. I put the scope without the rings on my scale. It's 24 ounces, dead on, 24.00 ounces on my scale. That's not super, super light for a hunting scope, but for something in this price range and of this quality, that's a decent weight. I'm not going to hesitate to throw this on any of my hunting rifles, especially seeing how well it holds 0. The illumination is, I think it's going to be usable in low light. It helped to pick out the bullseye on the target here in bright light, and I think on the lower settings in low light, it's going to be really nice. I'm interested to see how much it lights up and obscures the rest of the field of view on the low settings. I'm hoping it will be usable without blowing out too much else. The illumination also has an off position between each brightness setting. That is something I think is extremely important, and I wouldn't want an illuminated reticle without it. That is an extremely good function, and I think it is becoming the standard, which is a really good thing. The parallax knob is really easy to adjust. The distances marked on here seem to be pretty close, at least at close ranges here. When I put it on just over 50, it was parallax free at 55 yards. When I set it on 25, it was parallax free at 25 yards. So that is excellent. The turrets, crisp adjustments. I've got no complaints on them whatsoever. The 0 stop is effective, works exactly like it says in the manual, and goes back to a nice firm 0 every time. As I mentioned, I really like the capped windage turret that can also be used as an uncapped windage turret. It's not as bulky on this side, and it's a much smaller knob than on the top, but if you wanted to use this as an uncapped turret, it would be just fine. I did not have to adjust the focus whatsoever. Normally, with my eyes, the fast focus eyepiece screwed all the way in is where I end up with it. Okay, it's very stiff. This is the first time I'm trying to turn it. It is quite stiff. I'm sure that would loosen up over time. Oh yeah, it's even looser now. Just that first time twisting it, it was stiff. So that's usable. The overall size of the scope, I think, is appropriate from the magnification range. The eye box, I'm turned all the way up to 16 power here. The eye box is very easy to get behind. And I've got a nice clear full window without having to really get my head in a super exact precise location. I've had some scopes that were extremely picky on their highest magnification setting. On the lower range, I'll stick it on 6 power here. It's a crazy big, nice eye box. Things are stable. There's not a ton of distortion. There's a little distortion towards the edge of the scope. When I am focusing on one spot down there and I move the scope to the side, I can see just a little bit of bending around the edges of the scope. It's nothing terrible. And the center that does not bend is pretty large and usable. It doesn't look at all like you're looking through a fish eye, which is excellent. Again, I've had some scopes, especially on the cheaper end of things, that you move them around at all and the whole thing warps like you're looking through a fisheye lens. And I'm not seeing that at all here. It's not distracting whatsoever. Let me check that again on 16 power. I'm gonna say the distortion is actually even less noticeable on high power because there's of course a smaller field of view. One thing I want to check here, on the lowest power setting, all right, on the lowest power setting, it is going to be extremely hard to see where the center of that reticle is without the illumination turned on. It is very, very fine. For a hunting scope, I would have been okay with going with a little bit chunkier reticle at high magnification in order to get a little bit more usable reticle at low magnification. That being said, I think it's still going to be usable on the low magnification in brighter situations like this, even without the illumination turned on. There are some nice big duplex edges. Here's a good look at the reticle on the box here. There's some decent duplex edges with points that come down that help you center everything up. The top of the reticle is not cluttered, so it kind of naturally centers in that area. I don't think on a quick shot throwing this up that I'm gonna have difficulty on squirrels. I think it's gonna be usable, especially, like I said, in lower lighting situations when you pop that illumination on. Overall, I think it's clear. I like this scope quite a bit. You're seeing this review because I like it. I was sent a scope for review recently by a company that I won't name that I shot a video review on, and most of the way through I just quit. It didn't have near as good of features or near as good a glass as this scope. And this is the first day I've had this scope. What you've seen on camera is my first evaluation of it. At this point, would I buy another Arken scope? Absolutely I would. Today, as I'm filming this, they announced an IR night vision scope that looks like a whole lot smaller, more compact package than the ATN IR scope I have now. That may be a really attractive option for hog hunting if it turns out to be a good scope. Again, this is the first scope I've had from Arken. I purchased it directly through their website, and that was the very first contact with them I've had, so they have no idea that I do anything on YouTube. They have no idea there was going to be a video made about this scope. But from what I can see, all of the positive buzz that have been on other channels, X-Ring, Precision Rifle Network, and others lately, I've not had any reason to doubt those guys, don't get me wrong. But from what I'm seeing on my own personal experience, I will trust this scope, and I'm going to recommend it to people who want a good value option. I'll put the price I paid for it up on the screen here because I don't remember it off the top of my head. But I think, as Joel on Precision Rifle Network said, I think this line is equivalent to a lot of other brands' $1,000 scopes for a whole lot less. Hope you guys enjoyed seeing my take on it. Please make sure you're subscribed to the channel and check back soon. We're going to have some more videos coming your way. So thanks again for watching. Y'all have a good one.